aren't
This
familiar, we
conference
actually
will
use
now be
GoToMeeting
recorded.
for our conference solution. So it's just another conference option. All right, so just very quickly before we get into the fun stuff with Pear Deck, I just wanted, if you're not familiar with Knowing Technologies, it's these faces that are a part of our instructional innovation team, and they're the ones that are leading the Spark sessions this week and in future weeks. So you'll have the opportunity to meet all of us if you're able to jump into different sessions. Besides these sessions, we do support a variety of schools on the instructional side when it comes to technology integration. So these faces, you'll see us if you're joining these sessions. In addition to our instructional programming that we do, we also do manage IT services. And so we have a whole team of engineers and also engineers in training that support our schools on the IT side. So that's a little background on us. If you've heard of us, that's awesome. We have so many of our partner schools with us today. If you're interested in learning more about us, please reach out, info@knowingtechnologies.com. So this was the lineup this week. Monday, Tuesday, we had a lot of great sessions on video conferencing, how to create videos, how to create screencasts, how to create a collaborative experience using Jamboard. Today, our lineup is about Pear Deck, which we're all here for this morning. And then later today, if you have a Mac laptop and you're interested in learning about how to use QuickTime to create screencasts that you could send to your students or parents, there's an option for that. And we have one of our first assessment tools on our lineup, Quiz is this afternoon. And then you can see the sessions tomorrow with Seesaw, Book Creator, and then a variety of digital reading resources, which are really great, especially for the elementary school classrooms. So again, we will be offering these into the next coming weeks, especially during this remote learning session to support everyone. So we'll be able to communicate that to you with what the next sessions will be. Just so you know, these are small chunks of information. They're less than 30 minutes, not supposed to overwhelm you, but give you a good overview of these tools and how they can be used in a meaningful way during these remote learning situations. And then also when things get back to normal, how you can use those into your normal everyday classrooms. Please use the chat window if you have questions, comments, or suggestions. We want this to feel like a collaborative space. All the sessions will be recorded, and just remember that this is something that you guys, we're all going through all of this at the same time, a lot of change, and you got this, and it's something that, we are a collective force, and we all are supporting each other, and be proud of the accomplishments that you've made so far. Okay, so I want to get started with Pear Deck. So Pear Deck, like many of the tools right now, is free. Normally there's a charge for some of the advanced features, but you get a pretty good sense of Pear Deck using the free version. So these resources here, they're all linked, so that I put these together just so it's easy for you to find this information. This is a really great resource, which I'll pull up, getting started with Pear Deck. And Pear Deck has done a really good job with their help resources, where it breaks it up into whether or not you're a Google school or a Microsoft school. I think the majority of our teachers today are Google schools, but it really walks you through step by step how to set up your accounts, how to make a Pear Deck, how to present, how do you manage student responses, and all that kind of stuff. So if you're new to Pear Deck really, the draw with Pear Deck is it allows you to take a presentation, like a slide presentation, a PowerPoint or a Google slide presentation, and it allows you to add a layer of interactivity to it. So it allows your students to connect to your presentation and actually engage slide by slide if you choose, where they're typing a response, they're drawing a response, and then you actually get the chance to see all of that, and you see all your students participating as you go. So that's really the overview of Pear Deck. And so I wanted to show you a couple things with how it works, and then I want us to run through it, you guys being the students, and I'll be the teacher in this case, and we can all connect to it, and you can see what that's like. This is one of the other huge benefits of Pear Deck is that it has an integration with Google Slides. So if you're working on a Google slide, you can install an add-on that just sits to the right of your slide presentation as you're building it, and you can bring the Pear Deck integration right into it, so it makes it really smooth and easy. You don't have to create a lot of things from scratch, and Pear Deck has a great set of templates that you can use, so you can actually just kind of pull in things that maybe are already made, which I know teachers like a lot. Lastly here, Pear Deck has another tool. So if you're looking for additional resources to support vocabulary, they also have a support tool called Flashcard Vocabulary, where you are able to create a list of words for students, and then they have to draw the words, and then they have to actually put them in a sentence or write the definition. So Pear Deck Vocabulary is also it's a really fun collaborative game. I think it would be great for remote learning too, so I would definitely check that part out. And then here are some distance learning resources that Pear Deck has put together, definitely worth taking a look at as well. Okay, so you may have seen this image here going. It shows you the different types of questions you can add to your slide presentation as you're building it. And so it talks about multiple choice, number questions, text responses, a web response, or you can have them click on a website, and then a drawing where the students can draw. So I want to show you what that looks like. So here is a slide presentation. So this is a Google slide presentation. So as it's loading, you know, one of the features of Pear Deck is that they've recently partnered with Newsela or Newsela, and so they are really well integrated. So if you do use that tool as well, there's a lot of pre-made resources like this one that I pulled up. So if you're using Pear Deck for the first time, you can either go to peardeck.com and you can go that route, or you can actually start from a Google slide presentation. And if you go up here to add-ons, you'll see that I have a Pear Deck Google Slide add-on. If you don't have that, you can select Get Add-ons, search for it, and then it will then populate your add-on section. So when I click Open up Pear Deck Add-on, you'll see that it sits here on the right side of my window. And this is where all the good Pear Deck information is. So it's all here. They have a template library, they have some featured content, and then they have the 6 different question types that you can add to your slides. So as you build your slides, this is a good example of one. So this one was pre-made, or you could make it. So you have to think a little bit differently about your slides and how you design them. So in this case, this one is about kind of an overarching kind of essential question. What do new fossil discoveries help us learn? And you know, maybe traditionally your students would write it on a piece of paper, right? And then they would raise their hand and you would pick on one. But then you wouldn't really be able to get to everyone in the classroom. So this provides you an opportunity to have all the students connect to this, all write their response, and then you're actually able to show all those responses in an anonymous way. So after I design this slide, all I have to do is come over here and then I click text response, because I actually want them to type out a text response. If I just wanted them, maybe if I wanted to provide a multiple choice, I would select this multiple choice one over here on the right. If it happened to be maybe a number question, I would then put in the number. And as you see here, I have a few more slides. This one has the website option, which is a website that goes and sends kids to the Newsela article. And then this last one here is one where it's a drawing one. Again, this is a pre-made template, which I can show you in a second, but this one is a drawing one. So I added the drawing option to this one so that they can actually draw on here. And what's interesting about the drawing, it's not just drawing a pen, which can get difficult on a laptop. They actually have the option to actually add text boxes too. So the drawing allows for either drawing, like with a pen, or a text box, which we're going to be able to test out in a second. So on the tour over here, just so you can see it, so our template library is right here. So there's some some really good stuff about how to begin a lesson. If you're kind of getting stuck on maybe some sort of, hook at the beginning of your lesson, they give you a lot of really good things to think about. What did you learn from this? Draw or type 2 things you already know about today's topic. Think of a question your classmates might have. So I really encourage you to check these out. They have some really great stuff on learning development, so critical thinking, social emotional learning, which is, really, really important, especially right now. There's some really great slides to just drop in there, and I'll kind of show you that. So say I'm really, really wanting something here. So stress check, this one, it's a draggable one. So I'm going to drop that one in there. Just click it, and then what it will do is it will just add to your presentation. Hopefully it works soon. It's working hard right now. It will drop it right in there, and there we go. So it's there. It creates the template for me, and then I can actually edit it too. So it's all editable. So if you want to personalize it, make it your own, you can do that too. Okay. Let's see. And then there are subject area specific ones. So they've really been really good. They have stuff for littles, math, science, social studies, world language, ELA. A lot of great stuff in here. I've seen all grades, all subjects use this. So think about that as you're building your presentations. All right. So I think we are ready to get started to practice this. Just looking at the questions that are coming through the chat. Feel free to use that. There are so many great. There's a question about favorite templates. There's so many great templates in here. I would really encourage you, as you're using this, if this is the first time, I'd really have you start to look at all the templates and pick a lot of different template types that have the different options, like the drawing, like the draggable, like the text. I would test those all out just to get a feel of all of them and see how your students respond to them, see how it works. Once you develop that confidence and awareness, you'll know which question types seem to be the most appropriate. Okay, so let's get to the fun part. So there's a question about formative assessments in math classes. And so again, what I encourage you guys to do is to look at the different templates, and you'll see some stuff here on math, and you'll see a lot of great examples. Math, it's really ideal for math because you can insert a graphing question, and I'll just drop this in the slide so you guys can see it. Students that can draw things on, it's ideal if again an iPad environment, but still works great on the laptop. Lots of different things in here. So again, I encourage you to look at the different templates for all the different subject areas. Okay, so to launch this, so you'll see in the right-hand side, it says present lesson. So I'm gonna click present lesson. Right, and so what I need you guys to do right now is that we're all gonna join it. I'm gonna join it on my other device over here. And so what I need you guys to do is open up a new tab. And this is what you would tell your students to do. You would say, okay, everyone, I need you to navigate to a browser. So Chrome is the browser of choice, given that I am working with a Google slide presentation. It will work in other browsers, but this is the browser that we would highly recommend given its Google integration. So open up your browser, open up a new tab, and all you need to do is type in joinpd.com. Okay, and then once you've done that, it'll ask you for a code to enter. So HGSNL. All right, it does ask for a login. So it does ask you to log in with your Google account if you have one. The reason it does that is so that as a teacher, you can actually see who is submitting their responses. So while there is some anonymous component that's publicly shared with the students, you on the back end, when the session's over, you can export all of the responses and you know exactly which students were answering and in which ways. Okay, and as you guys see, we have 8 students connected. So that's sort of my cue that I'm getting my students are coming in, they're rolling in, that kind of thing. I'm going to bring you to the beginning of my presentation. Great, we have 11 students connected. You guys are doing awesome. Okay, we have 12. Okay, we have a couple more. I see a couple of questions coming here. Can students collaborate together on a slide to create a shared response, or is it only individual? It's only individual responses. There's a question about sending a link from Google Slides. You can, of course, send this to them, but they would just have that copy. They don't have that interactive experience with the drawing and all of that. They can't actually have that experience. You would need to launch that the way I'm doing now. So once we get that, you'll see what I mean by what does that experience feel like. Okay, so there's 12 of us in, so I'm gonna get started. All right, so I click Start Class. Okay, so now I'm in a teacher-directed mode. So I am controlling what you see on your screen. So right now, feel free to select the link that's on there that says Preview the article. Okay, you're gonna see that it actually launches you into Newsela. So if you were to have them, you wanted them to read that, you could. Okay, and then if you guys like press back or go back to the presentation, you'll see that we are now going to the first interactive question. So again, this is just practice, so put whatever responses you want to put in there. So what do new fossil discoveries help us learn? So you'll see a text box that should pop up on the right-hand side. So feel free to drop your questions in there or your responses in there. Okay. All right, so what you would do is you would wait, and then at the bottom of the window, you would have, sorry guys, you have this section called Show Responses. So I would select Show Responses, and then you'll see everyone's response in here, which is awesome. Okay, you have a way to change the view, and this is also a way to have that conversation with your class, giving them some thinking time, letting them think on their own, putting in their responses, and they can add multiple responses. This is a novelty, and as you can see, classroom management, there may be some things that you need to set the tone about, because this is anonymous. However, you need to let them know that all of the responses then get at the end. You can export them into a spreadsheet, and you see who's said what. So I'd really have a good discussion with them about classroom etiquette or Pear Deck etiquette. And as you see, as students are writing, you see it. And then as you see here, is there any way to ensure that all students answer? I don't think there's a way to ensure that they all answer, but again, you'll get a spreadsheet at the end that will show you if someone didn't respond. So that is another way that you can look at that. Okay, so I'm gonna now show you how to lock screen. So I'm like, okay, everyone's done. So I'm gonna say lock screen, and you'll see that you can't type anymore. So that's a way to say, okay, we're done now. We're gonna reflect on these responses, and we're gonna keep moving on. Okay, so I'm gonna unlock the screen, and now I'm gonna go to the next one. Okay, this is another one about kind of. You'll see that there's on the right-hand side. You'll see that there's the website for Newsela, which is pretty great. This one doesn't always work, so I would definitely test this one depending on the website that you use. The integration with Newsela is really great, so it works. So that's another way to use that. And then I'm going to move on to this last one, which is the drawing one that I was mentioning. So right now you should see that you have a variety of pen options. You have then a T for a text box. So right now I want you first to try the T, okay? So grab the T and then click on your screen anywhere and then start typing in something. All right, and then after you've done that once, then start using the other tools. So start grabbing the pencil, maybe the pen, the line. You can get messy with this. This is practice. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start showing responses, seeing how we're doing. Great. So I, as the teacher, can kind of sit back and I can see how the class is doing. And I really have a good sense of what's going on. If you don't want it to be anonymous, perhaps ask them to put their name in the corner so you can see it. You know, there's probably lots of different ways. All right, so that was the drawing slide. And now you'll see a couple other ones. So this one is the draggable one. So this one is talking about a stress check, which may be really, really appropriate today or these past few weeks. So move the draggable and let us know how you're feeling. Okay, so again on the social emotional, and you can kind of see where people are. See that? So it's really, again, a good formative assessment just to see how they're doing on the stress level front. So in these last few minutes, I want to show you a couple other features that are built in here. Another feature that we like a lot is called student pace mode. Right now, I was guiding you slide by slide, but right now I'm going to turn on student pace mode. Okay, when I do that, you'll see now that on your screen, you have the ability to go back and forth on the slides. So why don't you try that now? Just start going back and forth, maybe going back to the first slide, the second slide, adding another response, adding another drawing, moving your stress level, whatever feels good for you. So that is another way to have a more student-paced experience. So you would just have this launched on your laptop or your device, and then your students can kind of go at their own pace. So that's a huge feature just to allow students to work at whatever pace is comfortable for them. All right, and so kind of to conclude for today, when you are done with your sessions, you would select end, you would name it, and then there's a section here which you need to enable in settings called Publish Student Takeaways. And what that does, it will actually send all of these slides with every student's response, just their own. So you guys are going to get a copy of this with your responses, and it's going to live in your Google Drive. As the teacher, I'm also going to get a copy of every single one in a nicely organized folder in my Google Drive, so that I can go in and I can add questions, comments to everyone's Google Doc that has all the student responses. So I would save an end session, publish the takeaways, I would log in, and then it would launch it. And I'll do that a little bit later, so you guys will probably receive an email that has a notification for your responses. Okay, and so I've added student takeaways down here. There's a nice video on that. A lot of teachers love the takeaways because it gives them a copy of that. It's not just lost in the experience. It's now in their Google Drive, a nice copy of everything. So really great feature. That's something you have to turn on in settings. It's actually by default turned off. And yeah, so I think you guys, this is a great tool to increase interactivity, to add more assessments on the regular when you're going through a presentation. It definitely elevates it. And we've heard that as a lot of teachers and students are have moved to remote learning, they are feeling a little bit more disconnected than ever before. So this is a way to bring them more into the experience. So we really encourage you to try out Pear Deck. Hopefully today was helpful. There are some additional resources here, so please take a look. There's some really great stuff on digital citizenship, this is such a great opportunity to talk a lot about digital citizenship. So Pear Deck has put some great resources together along with Google. So please take a look at these. And thank you guys for joining us. I'm gonna go all the way back to the sessions for the rest of the day. There's again more stuff going on today, the rest of the week, and into next week. All right, you guys, good luck with everything. Have a good Wednesday. Have a good rest of the week. We'll see you soon.